Alright, so I do believe that we're live. Welcome everybody to Spyro. I'm SableDragonRook. I'm going to be running Spyro 1, that's Spyro any %, and I'm here as well with Zic, who is going to be running Spyro 2 afterwards. Thanks for being here, Zic. So, for sure. This Spyro 1 run is going to be super quick. I mean, we're speedrunners, that's what we're here for, but even for speedrunners, this is going to be a pretty short run. So we're going to start timing here in just a couple seconds, as long as we are ready to go. We're going to start in 3, 2, 1, go. So the goal of Spyro any %, very simple. We're trying to get to the end of the game. We're trying to flame Nasty Nork, the big bad boss. And normally, in a run that doesn't use a ton of glitches, that would take about an hour. We don't really feel like spending an hour on that. So instead, we're going to use an exploit in one level and a big glitch in the next world in order to just cheese us right from Peacekeeper's World to the very end of the game and straight to Nasty Nork without fulfilling essentially any of the requirements that the game has for getting there. So first of all, in order to travel between worlds in Spyro 1, we need to fulfill requirements for balloonists. They are the ones who will take us in between worlds. And this first balloonist in this first world says, hey, I'm not going to take you anywhere if you don't collect 10 dragons for me, if you don't free 10 dragons from Crystal. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm just running the quickest route to get us these 10 dragons.
Alright, if we have a moment, I'm just going to plug our donations.
For sure.
Great. We have one donation from Rico, our last speedrunner, for $25, saying there were 8 shoe animations during my Crash 2 run, so $3 for each, and an extra $1 to even it out. Thanks for having me, and thanks for hosting this marathon for such a good cause. Thank you, Rico. We really appreciate it. Remember, everyone, 100% of the funds go directly to the COVID Relief Fund, and you can donate at tiltify.com/@speedrun.
Awesome. So for this next level coming up here, it's essentially the only other level of Spyro that we're going to do. We have one little exploit. It'll get us straight to the end of the level. When we free the dragon, his name's Nils, he will disappear and a fairy will pop up in his place. Fairies are really important for this run, and we'll talk about that here in just a minute. But when this fairy disappears, it'll leave kind of an invisible hitbox in the air as long as I stand in just the right spot. And so I'm going to try to wedge myself in there so that the fairy lifts me up and lets me jump over a big wall to the end of the level. That way we don't have to do the rest of the level. Yes, I can hear you, Zic. Were you muted? So there was that little invisible hitbox that we just stood on there for a second. And if we've done everything right, we should have those 10 dragons now to leave Artisan's World. Now, we're essentially already about halfway done with this run. There's our 10th dragon, so we'll head to the balloonist. He'll take us to Peacekeepers. I have very limited time to explain what's going to happen next, so here we go. When I'm in a balloon, like this one, I can't move as Spyro. He just kind of chills there, and there's nothing I can do about it. In Peacekeepers, outside of the world is a developer's tool. It's just a little box that is actually a fake balloon. It was, you know, a developer's balloon and it'll let us go anywhere in the game without fulfilling any of the requirements for going there. This balloonist, for example, wanted 10 dragons. The balloonists later in the game are going to want 1,200 gems, 5 dragon eggs, 6,000 gems, you know, these big requirements that we don't want to spend time for. So, we're going to go over to this dragon, and when I free him, fairy's going to pop up. By manipulating exactly what kind of buttons I press to glide away from the fairy, and when I touch down on the ground, as you can see, I can bring up the fairy now, no matter where I'm standing. Even if I'm not standing near her, that's called fairy storage, and the game thinks that I control Spyro while I have fairy storage. So we're going to go over to this balloon, and he says, oh, you haven't fulfilled the requirements of going to the next world. That's fine. I'm going to choose to go to Artisans, use fairy storage to take control of Spyro, and then charge out of this balloon. Because I have control of Spyro now. This is not something we are normally able to do. I'm aiming for that box. And I did get it. This is the dev balloon. It'll let us go anywhere in the game. So I told one balloonist I wanted to go to Artisans, another balloonist I wanted to go to Nasty's. So it's trying to load 2 worlds at once. That's why it's going all sorts of freaky here. We'll take a death abuse here in Artisans to clear the game of thinking that we have to go here. And it's like, okay, you know, I'm kind of done. I've taken you to Artisans. This part is over. And now, if we just go ahead and quit the game and come back in, we will actually be in the final world, which would normally be locked behind a 6,000 gem requirement. Nothing will be loaded the way that it's supposed to be because the game doesn't think I'm supposed to be here. So the dragon head that normally closes off Nasty Nork will also not be here. And we can just hop right ahead into Nork.
Possible on the console version, right?
Well, yes and no. It's only possible on some particular versions of the console disc. If you, for example, if you wanted to run this and you just went and bought a Spyro disc now, you wouldn't be able to do it because it runs on version 1.0 and most discs are now version 1.3, so you actually have to get kind of an older disc. There is a similar trick on PC, but it doesn't work quite the same. So yeah, as you see it, this run is only possible on PS4. So here we've got Nasty. I've gotten both of the key thieves that locked me away from him, and run for me is gonna stop as soon as we toast Nasty for the second time. We will briefly go back to after the credits and just look at our in-game time, just because that's how this category is timed officially, but you're essentially at the end already. So that's technically time.
You're toast, Nork.
And here, right after we check our guidebook time, I'm gonna pass it off to Zic, who's gonna be doing Spyro 2. So just 1 second here. Alright, in game 310, that's about 11 seconds off of the world record, so I just wanted to check that real quick. But let's head over to Zic with Spyro 2.
Alright, here we go. I'm just gonna start it up. Nice job, Sable, on the very quick Spyro 1 run.
Thank you.
Alright, so now that we beat Spyro 1 in record time and seen how broken that can be, I will show you how beautifully wonderful Spyro 2 can be. So starting off here in Glimmer, I'm going to just be... This is how we start the game. Whereas in Spyro 1, you would start in like hub worlds, like normal. In Spyro 2, they start you off in a level right off the bat. So we're doing a few quick jumps here to skip the entire level and just get right over here to the talismans. Getting these talismans is going to be the name of the game here in Spyro 2. Spyro 2 introduced a few more collectibles than Spyro 1. So we have gems, which are still around, which are used to purchase things such as power-ups or other levels and stuff like that. We have the orbs, which are supposed to be things used for progression, but we're gonna get 0 of those during this run, so look forward to that. And then there are the talismans. The talismans are the main form of progression in this game, and I am going to need to get all 14 talismans to get to the final boss. So the name of the game, get to the talismans as quick as I can. So here in Idle Springs, kind of gonna slow down a little bit. There's not a whole lot of skips and tricks we can do to get to the talisman here. We have to help these little builder guys by killing the tikis. So I'm just gonna use my time efficiently here while I wait for these guys, getting some gems. I'm gonna be getting a lot of fodder for a trick I'm gonna be doing a little bit later in the run. But kind of just to talk about, you know, Spyro 2, in the main movement of Spyro, you know, you have your charging, which I'm doing here, which is the fastest form of movement you can do on the ground. You have jumping and gliding. And what Spyro 2 introduces over Spyro 1 was they added the hover mechanic. Okay, that guy's gonna hit me, that's fine. They added this hover mechanic. So when you're gliding in the air, like so, for long enough, you can actually press triangle or Y to get a little boost into the air. I'm gonna be using that a lot to kind of get up onto certain ledges and scenery pieces that you might not normally supposed to be able to get to. So there was Idle Springs. We got another talisman, and I'm gonna jump right over to Colossus, where I'm going to really get to show off that hover mechanic and show you how it can push you through a level pretty quickly. Alright, so I'm gonna first get a few gems here right off the start. we're gonna be skipping a lot of the purchases in this run. A few of the things I can't skip is like we need climb and we need to buy the purchasable levels for the talisman. So there's a few things that I just can't avoid, so I'm gonna need to get a few gems. So right over here there's this statue, this hockey guy, and if I use the hover, we can actually get on top of him and then get on top of this ledge. And this lets us get all the way to the end of the level without doing most of the level. Easy, quick talismans.
Zic, your loading screens appear to be quite a lot shorter than mine. That's just a PC thing?
That is a PC thing. Yes, when they made the PC release for this game, they have improved the loading times drastically. That is one advantage of running on PC. The other advantage to running on PC, which I will show here in a second, is a trick called the wall glide. So there are certain surfaces in the game, for some reason only on the PC version, where if you glide and push against them, Spyro will actually gain height. So I'm going to use this little grassy wall here. Oh, little bonk there, that's okay, let's give that a second go. To actually gain height so I can get out of bounds. Here we go. Nope, got a hover, that's okay. This can be a little finicky. This is actually kind of a backup to a different trick we do for the run. But it is probably the least marathon safe trick I've ever seen, so I'm opting to do this instead. There we go. So now I can get out of bounds here and fly around this building. And this is the first part of what we call the swimless route for Spyro 2. We're not going to purchase the swim power-up for Moneybags. We're going to skip it completely. So that gets us through Summer Forest without swim. Now there's still 2 water levels we have to get to, but we'll get there when we get there. So here we are on Hurricos. If you like Hurricos, I'm sorry. We're going to not see too much of it. Get up onto this thing. We're gonna need to wait a cycle. We can kind of abuse that moving platform to get pushed out of bounds so I can fly straight over to the talisman. One of the nice things with Spyro 2 is all the Spyros you have the option to exit level at the end of a level. So I don't have to actually use the homeworld portal that it opens for me. I can just get my talisman and exit level as quick as possible. So now we're gonna move into Sunny Beach, which is a water level, and I can't swim. So we need to do what is the kind of second part, the second half of the swimless route. Now this little trick I'm about to do, this is a neat trick that was found by EasyScape, where we can, these little turtles in this level, they have a property where if you move them, they will try and go back to their home position once they've moved a little bit. So I'm gonna move this guy, and he's gonna wanna come back to where he started. So if I can get him in such a way, this doesn't look very good. No, let's move him again. So that he kind of sandwiches me between him and the wall. The game will have nowhere else to put me but through the wall. So now that I'm out of bounds, I can just fly over to here, and this is the end of the level. Completely skipping the need to swim. That's a fairly easy trick. You can even try at home. Just move that turtle, sit on that wall there, and just hope you get pushed out.
So Zic, I know we still have quite a few levels before we, reach the end of this run, but do you have a favorite level and maybe a level that you don't look forward to as much in this run?
Oh, in this run, I was gonna say my favorite is Cloud Temples, but that's a 40 orb and 100% kind of deal. Trying to think, Crystal Glacier will probably be the level I'm least looking forward to. We're gonna be doing an interesting trick in that level to skip buying the bridge from Moneybags, and it's gonna be a kind of complex trick. I
think you're really kind of ruining Moneybags' whole deal here.
Well, I think he's a little overpriced, don't you think?
Guess I can't disagree with that.
So, the Spyro 2 has a nice little failsafe where if you find yourself in a body of water and you haven't purchased Swim, it kind of lets you just doggy paddle to the surface at least, so you're not just stuck underwater. So we can kind of use that to at least get to the surface of the water in Aquaria Towers, and then jump on. There's like a lingering hitbox of one of the gates of those towers in Aquaria, so we can just jump on that and use that to hover up to the talisman. But now that we have all the talismans in Summer Forest, we get to take on the first boss of the game, which is Crush. Crush is pretty straightforward. Big purple guy with a big chicken wing. I'm gonna be getting hit by every single attack Crush does. in a pure showing of skill. So Crush has these long attack animations that he's gonna go through to try and hit us, but if we just get hit right away, then he just moves on to the next attack. And hopefully, if I get... Okay, we have enough sheep here. So I've been kind of manipulating it throughout the run, killing fodder along the way, so that I can get my 10th fodder kill in this fight, because when you get your 10th, like, these little sparks heals that I just got there, that's the 10th one, you get a full heal and a 1-up life. So I can use that so I can get hit by more attacks with Crush and get my full heal. Just cutting off these attack animations and saving a few seconds. That was kind of weird. Sparks was like chasing that butterfly but never ate it. Alright. Let's give Sparks one more butterfly even though he's not going to need it. And now we get to go on to Crystal Glacier, which is the level I said I wasn't looking forward to. This one's going to be a little complex, so I'll just get started now. So, we're going to try and skip the bridge. If this doesn't work, I'm just going to buy the bridge. We'll make money bags this day. But, to do that, I need the Superfly power-up. Now, normally you need to kill 15 enemies to unlock the Superfly power-up in this level. There are not 15 enemies before the bridge. So what we have to do is kind of utilize one of the checkpoint fairies up here to duplicate souls. I need to kill these 4 guys at the start to get the first 4 these souls. You can see them at the top of the screen to count, and I need 15 to unlock the Superfly. I'm actually going to get these just in case I have to buy the bridge. Okay, so these 2 clowns right here, we're going to get in position. That looks pretty okay. So I'm going to kill them, get zapped by the fairy, and then death abuse. So hopefully I got credit for the souls, but the bodies hadn't despawned by the time I checkpointed. Perfect. And so now I get to kill these guys and get an extra set of souls, allowing me to get 15 kills before the bridge. Unlocking that Superfly power. Now, we're not done yet. This is gonna come back later, so I'll explain it more in detail later. But, we need to break through. Perfect. There's an invisible height ceiling on every level. So it looks like I did absolutely nothing there. But, there's like an invisible height cap on every level so that you can't just get the Superfly and, you know, fly out of bounds and all that nonsense. I need to do this again for an early Ripto clip, but I'm not going to spoil that fun yet. Get a few extra gems and we'll head on out.
All right, let me take this moment just to remind everyone we are at $6,735.55. Our goal is $15,000. All money goes to Hackensack University Medical Center Foundation, and you can donate through tiltify.com/@speedrun. We do have some polls going, like what is the best franchise? Unfortunately, Spyro is not one of the options.
Thank you. So Sable, I have a question for you. Were you a fan of the flight levels in Spyro 1?
I am one of the most active individual level runners, so I would say, yeah, I love the flight levels. I think I'm in the minority, but I do love the flight levels.
I know a lot of people can be very, I know when I run this game, a lot of people, when I do this is the one speedway or flight level we'll do. And a lot of people always say they hated the flight levels.
To be fair, I run Spyro 1 flights. This flight level terrifies me. Something about the bungee guys.
Bungee guys can be difficult. They can really get in your way sometimes. I'm gonna be blasting through Metro Speedway here. Oh, this was pretty good. We need this for two purposes. I want the gems, because, you know, we're gonna need those. And this is some quick gems. But I also need it for a massive skip later in the run. So just know that I needed to do Metro Speedway. So now that we're done with that, I'll jump into Skelos Badlands, which will probably be the fastest level in the game. Which is kind of sad, because I like Skelos Badlands. This is where you're gonna really get to see that wall glide mechanic shine. There is a ledge right over here to the right that is perfect for the wall glide. And this leads right to the end of the level. So if I just tap into this wall as I glide, Spyro will gain all that height and allow me to jump right over here to the talisman. It's a shame Spyro 2 has all these beautiful levels when we get to see almost none of them.
If you were encouraging someone to pick up Spyro to, you know, to learn it as a speed run, what would you say is probably the trick they should leave for last? Something that maybe they don't need to worry about when they're just starting out?
Yeah, so, you know, to kind of springboard off of that first, you know, I will say if you are interested in ever running, really any of the Spyros, you know, we have a wonderful community and lots of resources. There is a guide for learning Spyro 2 any percent. You know, Spyro 2 has a lot of tricks towards the end, which are a little more necessary, but for a lot of this game, you know, a lot of these levels, you kind of can piece them together, you know? You can just be like, well, let me just tackle this one jump, and then I'll do the rest of the level normally, or that. You know, like Crystal Glacier, I definitely wouldn't recommend starting with that bridge skip I did. That's kind of a, just buy the bridge and move on. So there's a lot of kind of, you can kind of just add little pieces as you go. So we are through Breeze Harbor there, utilizing a few kind of interesting hitboxes in that level to get around fast. Sorry to disappoint everyone, we're not doing the trolley. And now I need to buy the first power-up of the run, which will be the climb power-up. Technically, I cannot get through this without climb. So, Moneybags can finally pay his bills. I will give him some money.
What? You.
Okay. So now that we can climb, we can utilize these ladders that we can find throughout the game. Though really, the only place we're gonna see that is Magma Cone. So we're still just getting through all these talismans. Like I said, you need the 6 initial talismans to unlock the first boss, which is Crush, and you can't get to Autumn Plains without beating Crush. And you need all 14 to unlock Gulp, which, while I may not be doing Gulp the intended way, I still need that portal to be open. So we at least get to see the worlds and get their talismans. Now Scorch is going to be really fast, so ooh, little wall glide here to get up onto this ledge for the button. Now, for Spyro 2, so you may be wondering if I'm playing on PC, you know, maybe why am I playing on 30 FPS? If you notice, Spyro 2 and 3 for the Reignited Trilogy have to be played on 30 FPS for PC release for speedrunning. For some reason, the jump and hover mechanics are physics. They are tied to the FPS. So the lower FPS you are, the higher you actually jump. So a lot of the jumps I'm doing and skips aren't even possible on anything higher than 30.
Mainly, you know, these talismans. You really have essentially no use for any of the orbs?
Not 90%. We don't get a single orb. After Fracture Hills, I will be showing kind of, because there's a lot of like barriers the game puts in. So like Magma Cone is separated from Fracture Hills here on like a door, and it doesn't open until the professor says, you know, oh, you need 8 orbs. They're kind of trying to keep you collecting because you need 40 orbs to unlock the door to the final boss. So the game's trying to like, hey, keep getting orbs, don't lock yourself out of the end of the game. But yeah, in 80% we have a way around those barriers. Unfortunately, because some of the orbs are pretty fun. Alright, one more of these satyrs to grab for free from Fracture Hills. Their music and sound effects are not as loud as the original game. We can go get our talisman. We have kind of... people have done a little poking around with Fracture Hills to see if it's possible to get this talisman without freeing the satyrs, but there is an unbelievably large box around that big castle until you free it. So, as I was kind of mentioning earlier, and Sable was asking about orbs, this is where the game would stop you and say, I think it's 8, that you need 8 orbs to go through the door to Magma Cone. But there's this ledge over here that is kind of easily glidable. So I'll just glide around the door and keep moving. Alright, Magma Cone. This one's going to be interesting. We're going to be doing a really nice out of bounds in this level. A little wall glide there to get around this volcano. And then this is going to be a kind of nice out of bounds. So if you climb this ladder all the way, as high as we can go, that looks pretty good. And then jump and glide off, there's a little retaining wall out here that has no boundary. So we can actually use that to get out of bounds. This is skipping paying money bags for the elevator to come down to this section. We don't need them. We can do it on our own. We'll wait. I'm waiting on cycles here. Sometimes these molten rocks can really get you. So you have to kind of be careful. Okay. And now time for the worst level of the run. Shady Oasis. It's the worst because it's an escort mission that we can't speed up. Not only is it an escort mission that we can't speed up, we have to pay for it. We have to pay money bags to be bored for a few minutes. What a deal.
Nope.
Alright, 400 gems for Shady Oasis. Here we go. Now, I'm gonna pray here for a second. Sometimes Shorty the hippo here can get stuck. Sometimes he has to jump up the first flight of stairs coming up, and sometimes he doesn't make it up the stairs. And his AI is not smart enough to jump again, so let's hope that doesn't happen. there's our staircase. You can make it, buddy. 1, 2, he made it. I'm proud of him. So, there's gonna be a lot of gem collecting in this level. Because like I said, we can't really speed this up. All we can do, he's got like little checkpoints where he wants to, you know, make sure you're still there with them. So as long as we're at those checkpoints when we need to be, while he's moving, I'm gonna try and get a bunch of gems and such, because I'm actually perfect now. I don't even need more gems. I was gonna say I need 400 gems to buy the last level, which is Zephyr, but we're good.
I feel like I've heard from other runners that he actually has a pretty small sort of area around him where you can be standing, or he'll just completely stop moving. He's very restrictive. Is that true?
Yeah, he's very particular about you being near him. You'll find a lot of the times that it's kind of hard to just blow past him and kind of be at that checkpoint in passing. Sometimes you'll be doing a level and then you'll turn around and he's still standing back there. That was the last checkpoint, getting that apple, so we're free. We have one more talisman to get, and that is the one in Zephyr, and this one's gonna be fun. We're gonna be doing a lot of out of bounds tricks and precise hovers to blast through Zephyr really quickly. I'm gonna warp to Metro Speedway here. This is basically just a fast travel because Metro Speedway is the closest thing to Zephyr, and we skipped it because it costs money. So now we have the money for it, so we'll just go back and do it now. So if you know Spyro 2 and you know Zephyr, the end of the level might be kind of fun. You're supposed to free Corporal Glug from the TNT crates. But we'll see what happens if we don't free him from his TNT cage.
If we have just a moment,
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to remind everyone that we are raising funds for Hackensack Meridian Health COVID Response Fund. Money goes to help patient care, fund the team members, and support research for COVID-19 treatments. Even $1 can help. So please get those donations in, help us out, help them out.
Alright, thank you. So, here's Corporal Glug. You don't have to free him from his TNT prison. He'll still give you the talisman and we can leave him here in peace. So I have a big trick to talk about now. What we're about to do is a trick called level storage. This is what makes Spyro 2 any% a thing. Remember when I said I had to do Metro Speedway? That's gonna come into play right now. I am going to be loading Metro Speedway in the background of the game. So how am I gonna do that? Well, first I need to pause the game on the same frame that I would enter Gulp's Overlook, just like that. Then I exit level, and this is not going to work. So I will keep explaining while I reset this. So, to talk about more what just happened. So I'm gonna pause the game on the same frame I enter Gulp's Overlook. Then I exit level. So the game thinks I'm in Gulp's Overlook, but I'm still in Autumn Plains. So what happens if I exit level in a hub world? So the Gulp cutscene will play, and while the Gulp cutscene is playing, it's gonna put me back in Autumn Plains. Now, when it does that, it's going to put me outside of a Speedway portal. So that one was, you can tell by the background of the loading screen. If it's orange, it's Icy Speedway. If it's purple, it's Metro. This second time around, it's not going to matter which one I get, but I was looking for a purple background there for Metro Speedway. But that's okay. It's not going to matter now. So, We're going to go back to Gulp's Overlook. We're going to do that again. And so what's going to happen there is I'm going to blind movement my way into the speedway level that it puts me outside of. Let's warp to Gulp's Overlook. Oh, I don't have Gulp's Overlook yet. Okay, let's walk to Gulp's Overlook together while I explain. So it will, I will blind movement into a speedway portal while the Gulp cutscene is still playing. Once I've loaded into the speedway level, we will retry the speedway and then skip the Gulp cutscene. This will then connect the kind of two instances I have going on here, and it will load that speedway level in the background of the game. So let's do this again. Gulp's Overlook, exit level. So now we're loading a speedway level in the background. Let me listen here.
We finally made Avalar ours. You've earned a special reward. Gulp, what is it, boy? Oh,
it might be
ferret.
locked.
Here you go.
Okay, I need to redo this one more time. My apologies. I got lost out of bounds. This can be kind of difficult. You are essentially playing the game completely blind. So let's get back in there. Let's try that one more time. While my game reloads back up, if you have any donations or shoutouts or announcements, now would be a pretty good time.
Sure. No new donations just yet, but just want to remind you 100% of the funds that do get donated go straight to Hackensack University Medical Center Corona Relief Fund. So even $1 helps, but $3 will pay for an N95 mask for healthcare workers, and $10 pays for an antibody test to help research better treatments and a cure. And you can donate through tiltify.com/@speedrun. Any amount helps.
All right, thank you. So, let's actually this time, let's do this differently. Warp to Shady. This might be faster than walking. So, as I said, this is very difficult. It definitely has its fallbacks, but this is 100% necessary. So, this is how we're going to basically skip the rest of the game. Once we've performed level storage, we will be using that to clip right into the Ripto fight. This is where these PC loads get to come in handy.
If this were PS4, I would have had maybe 2 tries so far. For comparison's sake, for my run earlier for the PS1, or not PS1, Spyro 1, any percent versus this, I was playing on PS4 Pro, and my loading screens were still, you know, so significantly longer than the PC.
Okay, so to kind of go over it again, I exited level at the same time I was entering Gulp's Overlook. So that put me in Autumn Plains while the game was loading Gulp's Overlook. So now I am in Autumn Plains while the Gulp cutscene is playing. So then I can blind movement my way into the speedway, which I just did there.
Him off and you can have all the berries you can eat.
I don't know if I can fix this. I am very sorry. That failed again. Oh.
Every time that it doesn't work, we get another opportunity to have it, you know, clarified how it works in the background.
Right, exactly. This is incredible, though. But you got to see there for a moment. You got to see I had Superfly. That is essentially how this is supposed to go down.
What we're coming out of here with is essentially you have kept a level in the background that's going to impact the way that the rest of the game plays because the game thinks that you're playing that level.
Right.
Right?
So the game's going to think I am in Metro Speedway. Whereas in fact I am playing the game normally. So I get all the benefits. I get the supercharge, I have the supercharge, I have the super flight from the level, but I get to take that to Gulp and Winter Tundra after that. Okay. Let's get this time. It's gonna be
No pressure.
It's gonna be worth it.
Is that, at least, as far as I am aware, if you actually achieve this, anybody who tries to do this, you can actually take this into Spyro 1 as well, if you would like. You can quit out of the game and go back to Spyro 1, and you'll still have the supercharge and the flight and everything while you play Spyro 1.
Yeah, the trick is very interesting in the fact that, yeah, it permeates all the games. So once I load Metro Speedway in the background, it will be loaded forever on this file, no matter what game I play. So I could quit out of here, start up Spyro 3 after this, and I would immediately start the game with Superfly and Supercharge. It would still think I'm in Metro Speedway even though I'm playing Spyro 3. Okay, let's behave here. I'm getting good at these frame perfect pauses though. Positive thinking.
Go. We finally made Avalar ours. You've earned a special
Blind movement. Okay, we entered the Metro Speedway portal. Let's
Go. What is
hope
it?
I get this right this time.
Oh, the ferry. Here you
You can do it.
Once we load in, we pause, quit, retry the speedway, and skip the Gulp cutscene as quickly as possible. That's the tough part, is you have to skip that cutscene for Gulp as quickly as possible so the two levels can load back in at the same time. So now we got it. Okay, we're in there now. Ooh, a little rocky path along the way, but we have set everything up. Here we are. So now I can use Supercharge to hit Gulp 10 times, and the fight's over. I promise this was worth it. So, remember what I did back in Crystal Glacier? I said there was an invisible ceiling on the level when you have a Superfly power-up. That's going to apply to Winter Tundra. So, to kind of talk about it more, I am going to be tilting my joystick downward, but then using the D-pad to move upward at the same time here. That will kind of jumble up my inputs, and the game will think I am moving down when I am actually moving up. Let's set that back up again. That way it doesn't check for that invisible ceiling anymore, thus allowing me to bust right through it. This is difficult. Might not have the height here to clear the wall. Let's see. No. Let's go. Oh, I landed on the wall there. That's okay. So what makes this part a little tricky is when I say you have to tilt the joystick down, you have to tilt it like, imagine as little as you can tilt a joystick as possible. You have to hold that input through the entirety of this trick. There we go. We've cleared Ripto's castle wall. I'll come in, land safely. And just like that, we're into Ripto. So that skips needing to get any orb throughout the game. We have gotten into Ripto with 0 orbs. So we still have Supercharge and Superfly, so that kind of makes this first part of the Ripto fight really easy. Now, it's going to take this away from me for some reason when I go into phase 2, So I'm gonna start pre-getting some of these ores, because I'm gonna need to actually do phase 2 correctly.
I'm assuming then if you do need to actually do phase 2, you know, the intended way, there's probably some ideal ways that it can happen and some not so ideal ways that it could happen.
Yeah, so something about interesting is you can actually get like double hits on Gulp using the blue power-ups in this phase. So ideally, you want Hunter to drop the blue orbs here so you can get the blue power-up and hopefully get those quick hits. I can show that off here because I got a blue power-up. Oh, that was good. So you can hit him as he's coming back up, and if you do that correctly, like if you get the blue right off the start, you can actually kill Gulp in one power-up, which is really fast. We're moving up here, now we have the final phase. We have Fireball, and we just have to hit Flying Ripto. Luckily, it's pretty easy to hit here. Messed up a tiny bit. Usually you can predict where he's gonna go. Being a little unpredictable. But that's okay. And once I get my final hit on Ripto, that will be time for our run here. There it is, time. Whew.
Congrats, Zic!
Thank you. That was Spyro 2 any %. Sorry for the complications there at Gulp, but we made it.
Hey!
All it meant was spending some more time with Spyro, so...
Can't complain about that, right?
I don't think we could ever thank you enough, Spyro.
But yeah, so I think that's it for me. Thank you everybody for watching me and Sable get to show off Spyro Reignited. Do you have anything else to say, Sable?
I'm all right, except I guess don't forget to donate. It's all for a good cause, and thanks for having us.
All right, yeah, thank you.
Thank you for running. And we did get one more donation from Focus, one of our previous speedrunners, donates $6 and says, "Thanks guys once again for having me. Hoping the rest of the marathon goes well and wishing everyone a safe spring." All of this money again goes straight to Hackensack University Medical Center COVID Relief Fund. And we're going to have a brief break here, so go ahead, stretch, go to the bathroom, maybe get a little bit of fresh air safely, and then come right back for our next game, which is going to be Banjo-Tooie. Thanks.
Just remember though that you can always